saying that 2020 had been a tough year for all of us would be kinda redundant at this point. So let's just skip to the next part and say, thank God for video games! Here's my short video about my personal top 5 games released in 2020, which made this awful year a bit more bearable. Number 5. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was my favorite game of 2017 and is most definitely in the top 10 of my favorite games of the past decade. So when Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was announced, I probably made it sound like this. The game has a very specific target audience. People who've played Zelda Breath of the Wild, and people who like Musou games, like the Dynasty Warriors series. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who is neither, or only one of the two. If you do match that profile though, then you get what in my opinion is the most polished Musou game out there, which happens to explore the land of Hyrule before the Great Calamity, and allows you to spend more time with the characters introduced in Breath of the Wild. In comparison to other Musou games, including the first Hyrule Warriors, where the levels all feel very flat, straight and angular, Age of Calamity has a very organic feel to it, and the architecture is a lot more detailed. Points you need to capture aren't just square empty rooms, no, they come in all shapes and include places like markets or village squares. And instead of narrow corridors you have wide open areas that connect outposts. This is a huge step up and makes exploring the levels much more engaging and enjoyable. Plus, there are tons of playable characters which all have different playstyles and are all fun to play. The gameplay itself, where you just knock away dozens of enemies at a time and slowly clear the map of red spots, is mindless but satisfying. It's a pretty long game too, especially if you want to do all the optional side missions. The story was a bit disappointing though, as it did not go in the direction that I hoped it would, but the overall package is good. Number 4. Remember beat-em-ups? Those were simpler times, just walking forward and punching everything in your path. Streets of Rage 4 may not revolutionize the genre, but in my opinion it's the most perfect representative it has to offer. Unlike most classic arcade beat-em-ups though, which are insanely hard, this game poses a fair challenge, and it's difficult, but never unfair. The art style and music are great, each playable character feels completely different, there are unlockables and hidden secrets in the game, and you can even decide what type of food will serve as your healing items. It's just good old-fashioned fun, which is even twice as enjoyable when playing with a friend. Oh, and I believe there's a story too. Number 3. Timing. I can't think of a better word to use when it comes to Nintendo's life simulation game, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Being released shortly after the pandemic hit Europe like a sledgehammer, and people were stuck in their homes, unable to go anywhere, let alone travel, this game gave us that tiny bit of escapism and holiday feel that we so direly needed. Marking my very first trip into the Animal Crossing universe, New Horizons was pretty much everything that I had hoped for. Cute, colorful, and with a great sense of humor. It was like looking at a rainbow after I was done doom-scrolling or watching the news, which seemed to be getting worse every day. The game pretty much works like this. Collect stuff, sell stuff, use money to improve the island, and find some anthropomorphic folks who want to live in your neighborhood. Thing is, everything works in real time. If it's 7 PM in the real world, then it's 7 PM in game as well. And there are only so many things you can do per day. If you collected all the fruit from their trees, you will have to wait in real time until they regrow. This also has an effect depending on which season it is. In spring everything is green, and in winter snow will cover the ground. And there are also seasonal events taking place. And your neighbors will comment on how much they missed you if you haven't played in 7 months. Thanks for guilt-tripping me, Vivian. Then there is also the museum, where you can bring bugs, fish and fossils you have collected. The game allows you to get creative as well, as you have to plan infrastructure and house placement yourself, and later on in the game you can even terraform your island. You can even design your own flag, t-shirts and pictures that you can use to decorate the walls of your home. Seeing my island grow from an empty patch of grass to a lively little town was such a joy. And it gets even more fun if you visit a friend's island in multiplayer mode, or have people visiting yours so you can party at your place, especially in these times of social distancing. And if you want to go all out, then keep an eye out on the game's equivalent to the stock market, where you can buy and sell turnips which may or may not increase in value over the span of 1 week. They may have a low value on your island, but be super valuable in one belonging to a friend of yours. One major point of criticism I have though, you can only have one island per console. I'd love to create a new island with new animal neighbors, but I can only do that if I delete my current one. And I just couldn't do that to Vivian. Number 2. Alright, this is going to be a controversial one. And there are about 1,000 different reasons why it probably shouldn't be on my list, but I really enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077. The PS4 version of all things. Doesn't look pretty. So many baffling gameplay decisions. So many things that don't feel fully thought out. And bugs. So many bugs. And all those controversies surrounding it. And I do have to mention that I do not approve of CDPR's business practices in any way, but still. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have a great time playing this unfinished and broken thing. There's just something about this open-world RPG that motivates me to explore the city, engage in side quests, and of course follow the main storyline. Hanging out with the characters, the dialogue, the voice acting, the exploration, the city, the soundtrack, it's all top-notch. And in my opinion, even sneaking around and combat are a ton of fun. The weapons feel and sound great, and the music that plays while you're fighting off baddies really gets you pumped. Still, it's a shame when you think about all the wasted potential and imbalanced gameplay elements that the game currently has. But I think it's gonna be worth revisiting Night City in a year or so, when this heavily flawed gem hopefully will have reached its full potential. Nonetheless, what is there is pretty amazing already. At least in my book. Number 1. I've never been a fan of hacky-slashy games, and although I've always been intrigued by the roguelike genre, the only one so far that was able to catch my attention for a longer time span was FTL. That is, until this game came along. Hades. Just wow. This is, excuse me, a damn fine game. You play as Zagreus, the son of Hades, and your goal is to escape the underworld, hacking and slashing your way through hordes of different enemies, collecting treasure along the way, and then ultimately dying and getting sent back to the pool of Styx where your father, the god of the dead himself, will scold you.
Stupid boy. I told you nobody gets out of here, whether alive or dead.
And this is going to happen a lot. Because this game is hard. But it's that great kind of challenge, where you feel that even if you fail, you gained something from it. Be it either from learning something new, or through the resources that you've collected up until you died. These resources will help you prepare for your next attempt, by unlocking new weapons, perks and skills, or upgrading the ones you've already acquired. Every run feels different, as the rooms and challenges you face are randomized each time you start your journey out of the underworld. Also, the gods of Olympus are trying to aid Zagreus on his quest by offering him different boons. Which gods you encounter where and what boons they offer will also be different in every run. The gameplay is really addicting. You always want to do just one more escape attempt. It's great! But do you know what's just as great as the gameplay? Everything else.
Few tales are told of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share.
The story following Zagreus on his quest to escape the underworld is what drives this game. The characters, which for the most part are taken from Greek mythology, and the dialogue are so well written, and the voice acting is so damn good. Like, so damn good. It's always a joy to talk to everyone and hear what they have to say. And the amount of spoken dialogue is huge. And have I mentioned how good the voice acting is? Listen to this dialogue.
How'd you get here anyway?
Oh, you know, just kind of zapped right in like Papa lets us do. Some of us sometimes. Why do you ask?
I meant, how did you get to the realm of the dead in the first place?
You know what? These two characters, voiced by the same guy, Darren Korb. Or listen to these.
Be on your way indeed. What do I care?
Good to see you, lad, despite the circumstances. Remember your training out there.
The House of Hades, that dark and lavishly appointed lair of the Underworld's king.
All voiced by Logan Cunningham, or Nix and Artemis, both voiced by Jamie Landrum.
You would speak to me of foolish mistakes.
I heard about you. Look, I'm not like all the others on Olympus.
Incredible. And every single performance in this game is stellar. The tone of this game manages to strike the perfect balance between humorous and taking itself seriously enough for you to still care about the characters and what's going to happen in the plot. And you can pet Cerberus.
Here, boy. Just as long as one of your three heads enjoys these pets.
The controls are smooth and easy to learn. There's only one problem I have, and that is that whenever I use my favorite weapon, I feel like I'm about to get carpal tunnel syndrome. So far I've played Hades for about 70 hours, and I can't see myself escaping its grasp anytime soon. Hades is the best game of 2020. Thank you so much for watching this video. What were your favorite games of 2020? And what were the reasons why you picked Hades as your #1 game? Please leave a comment. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to hear me waffling even more about games, why don't you subscribe to my channel? It's still in its early stages, but I currently plan on releasing at least 2 to 3 videos per month. And every subscription would be a ton of help. Thanks, and I hope you have a lovely day.